Alright, this section we're going to be dealing with page elements. So websites include specific elements that need to be considered in web design. These include navigation, truss symbols, the color scheme that we use, buttons that users click on, images, how it relates to the positioning of our brand, video elements, forms, and by forms I mean like the forms that customers have to fill out, and phone numbers. Sometimes the call to action is a phone number. Alright, so let's look at this in a little bit more detail. So navigation, so earlier websites commonly had a navigation menu. You can see that here at the top there. It's got the menu, watch, discover, attend, and you click there, it's got a drop down in there, right? These menus can be arranged in different ways, but the intent is to make it easy for users to navigate around the website. Now, some more contemporary websites, and this is happening more and more, have foregone the navigation menus as a trade-off for simplicity. And it can be extremely powerful way of doing it, because remember before we talked about the design elements and the hierarchy of elements and what the most important thing is, and we want to avoid clutter and stuff like that. So this looks good, but if you go to this website, now you've got to think about the objective of the website. So I'm not saying this is bad, but if you go to the website, this hasn't got a lot of stuff going on in there. Now, if your objective is to provide a lot of choice and make it look like there's a lot going on, well, that's one thing. But if your website is to keep things simple and funnel them through, then having a simple website with no menu could be the best way to go. So in most cases, navigation is important. So I just want to clear that up. I'm not saying that you should, just because it's innovative and edgy, you should get rid of your navigation menu, because in some cases, in most cases, I think it's still going to be the best way to go. But make websites easy to use. Keep going back to that, the technology adoption menu, perceived usefulness. And this is a key point too. It's not how easy it is for you to use, and it's not even how easy it is for your customers to use. It's how easy they perceive it to be to use, and how they perceive, how useful they perceive it to be. So it's in their head, what their head's doing. Because it might be really easy for them to use, but if they think that it's not easy, then they won't use it. Alright, keep visitors on the website for longer, and then improve our search engine optimization rankings. So trust symbols. Scientific research in marketing has continually shown that trust is central in developing relationships with customers. And we know from principles of marketing, the primary objective of marketing is to go through a process to develop valuable relationships with our customers, with our most profitable customers, right? Or it's develop meaningful relationships with the most valuable customers. So for large organisations with strong brand equity, they often include their official logo to reinforce trust. So if you go to the Microsoft website and there was no Microsoft logo there, I'd be suspicious immediately, right? If you go to the University of Tasmania website, there's no UTAS logo, you'd be thinking, am I on the right website? So having your logo on there, you've spent a lot of money branding that logo, promoting that brand, so it makes sense to have that on your website then to promote that trust. Not in a way that it takes over and you're like, it's like you're screaming out brand awareness, but they're enough so that the element of trust is there. All right. Now, businesses without strong brand recognition need to consider other trust symbols. So if you're a new business or a business that doesn't deal a lot with customers, and yet like business to customer, you deal a lot with business to business and stuff like that, and you've got a public-facing website, a lot of people might not know about your brand, all right? So, and it might not be your business model to actually do brand awareness, because you're focusing on business to business relationships, right? So then in these situations, if a new business or you haven't invested in brand recognition, then you need to think about other symbols such as guarantees and returns. So on your website, you've got a guarantee that if something, if you order online and it doesn't fit, you can return it at no cost. So you just pay for packaging or whatever, what's it called? Postage and handling, whatever. Awards and associations. I really like this one, and I've done a little bit of research in social media, and it turns out that if you win an award, it's something that gains a lot of attraction on social media, engagement that is, because especially if it's a brand that you have a favourable attitude towards, which, let's face it, if you like their Facebook page or you're following them on Twitter or TikTok or whatever you're doing, if they do something nice, like win an award, you kind of feel like you want to share in that and go, yeah, give it a like, or some meaningful form of engagement. So awards on your web pages, and I don't mean like some dodgy award that no one's ever heard of, but if it's a reputable award, put it out there and put a link to the organisation that's given you the award too, because that's going to improve your search engine optimization and it enhances the trust in your website as well. Now, testimonials and publicity, these need to be genuine and authentic, because I'm sure if you've been involved on the internet, everyone's very skeptical about testimonials that are basically just chatbots posting, yeah, I bought this, it was great, 5 stars. Like, is that a real customer? Some websites now have authenticated purchases and stuff like that to help reinforce that trust. And then social media presence. Link your social media to your website, and it's quite common. At the bottom you have the socials, link to Facebook, link to Instagram, link to LinkedIn, link to Twitter, all these other ones. Because if someone hacks your website, it's one thing, but it's harder to hack all your social media accounts at the same time as well, right? So if they're all linking up, it's sort of, if you're on a website, but then it's linking to a different Facebook page, you'll be like, oh, this seems suspicious, right? So if everything links up and is in order, it reinforces that trust. Now, color schemes. The use of color can influence the behavior of customers on the website. I was a skeptic about this before I started marketing, but it's true. Color influences our mood and our behaviors. So research shows that color schemes influence aesthetics, so how pretty things look, first impressions, and long-term engagement with websites. And I've got a link here to the research to support that. Different colors have different impacts, such as blue color schemes have a positive impact on trust. If you've done services marketing with me, you probably know that we've used this in the Business Servicescape model. In there, we have the elements of the elements of the Servicescape, and one of those is color and how that influences both employee behavior and customer behavior. Now, surprisingly enough, blue reinforce. I've got a simple example here. ANZ, if you're a bank, you really want to enforce the credibility of your website, credence, so they use blue, and that's not a coincidence, right? They've done their research. They know that blue reinforces trust. Other ones, you might go, well, then why wouldn't all website, or why don't all banks use blue? Because sometimes they might be trying to reinforce trust, sometimes they might be trying to reinforce excitement, different elements, right? And purple is loyalty. So some websites go, yeah, we want trust. Others go, no, we want to reinforce loyalty of our customers. So they go for slightly different positioning. So different colours have different impacts. Check out that research. Use high contrast colours to improve readability and accessibility. You don't want yellow on white. It's just don't do it. It's hard to read, and you might like it for your own personal preference, but you're not designing a website that you like. You're designing a website that's going to improve. It's going to get conversions, right? So consider the context of the website and the emotional response you want to evoke from users. You should know by now that consumers use their cognition and their emotion. We need to be wary of the way that they think and the way that they feel and the way that they interact with our organisation. So stick to a limited colour palette to maintain cohesive and professional look. If you're going for rainbow colours, I'm one of the few people that actually like that. The colours going everywhere. That might be because of my personality, but in general, people like a nice, neat colour palette. Use brand colours consistently to reinforce brand identity. And you often have branding style guidelines to help us with that. Alright, buttons. Websites should have a clear call to action. This is made easy with CTA buttons, call to action buttons. So research shows that increasing the visual intensity should be done carefully, because if it's too high, like the visual intensity is too high, and like the prominence of it, like the way that it sort of jumps out at you and interferes with what you're doing, it can actually cause negative reactions. Now, buttons should clearly look like buttons to generate a click-through rate. Now, the reason why I put this research in there is because we used to say have a clear call to action, and how annoying is it when you go to a website You haven't even clicked on the thing that you come there for, and it jumps up. Sign up to our webpage, and you're like, no, you're not even thinking about should I sign up to the website. You're like, how do I get this annoying distraction away so that I can continue to do the thing that I've come here to do. Now, it's common, and I know some of you might be managing websites that do this. Don't fear, I'm not screaming down at you, but research is involving, and I'd like you to seriously contemplate whether that's good for your audience. Please, you know what A/B testing is now. Do one with it and do one without it. And I'm fairly confident that the one that's not jumping out at you and interrupting the user experience is going to perform better than the one that does. All right, so that's one thing. The other thing is, if you want people to do an action, it needs to be clear what action that is, right? And not clear to you, clear to your users, to the perception of your users. Right, images. Websites that can generally scan rather than read. This makes images more important than text, especially when we talk about positioning of our brand. Images are useful to communicate the positioning of the brand, or like the business or the brand. I'm getting ahead of myself here. It's also important that images are professional, as consumers use these as surrogate indicators of quality. Now, have you ever been to a website where they've got really dodgy images on there, or not dodgy, just like low quality images that look like they've been taken, you know, by the IT guy in the backyard? Like, I'm not having a go at them, but it just looks painful, right? So then you'd go, well, if that's the kind of way that they're presenting themselves to the online world, that's sort of what I would expect to deal with when I engage with that organisation, right? So invest the time. A lot of organisations, such as UTAS, we have limits of the images that we use. We're not allowed to use our own images. We have to use images either from our image library or from these two web pages which I'm doing, Pexels and Upslash. And you can see I'm actually promoting those subtly in my pages. And here's one of those subtle ones. Use Upslash, and I'm not affiliated with that. I'm not getting kickbacks from that. I'm just saying it's free, royalty free, if you use it for the right intention. I'm using it for educational purposes, so I'm allowed to use it royalty free. And for many commercial purposes, these are royalty free as well. You can use them, like, please, like it's so cheap. You can buy images, and then you can buy the copyright to those, so you buy a royalty for that, and then only you can use them. So the danger with Upsplash or Unsplash or Pexels is that if you use that image, then someone else might be using that image as well, which you know, you're using it for free, they're allowed to use it for free as well. So you can buy rights to that, and I've done that with images before, and it works quite well because then only you can use it. But don't use you know, images that you're snapping from your mobile phone when you can use these good ones. Right, video. Due to technological improvements, video is becoming more popular to use on websites, and that includes the way that we code websites, the way that we install data, and the way that we access data. Remember, I was talking last week about SSDs and how much faster they are on hard drives, which makes it faster for video to play and stuff like that. And we can compress videos now so that it basically got less data to play on your screen, but it actually still looks like high quality video. So using video can provide the following benefits. Videos combine audio and visuals to deliver more information than other media. So these, I'm talking about embedded video now, where people click on it and watch it and get audio visual. Whereas videos can also be, how would I explain it? Like when you go to the website and it's like a moving background. So the video is running in the background. You can't hear it, but it is visual. And that can look really cool. Right, professional videos increase credibility, because if you're using professional videos, especially if you're a marketing company or you're a marketing person for a big organisation, you want to be credible. If you're not using credible professional images, how do you expect people to think that you're professional? Videos are useful for both for desktop and mobile. Now, forms. Previous research has examined the psychology of completing forms on websites. I'm one of the many people that hate using forms, so best practice will help with conversions. This includes some design optimization. First one, remove unnecessary fields, right? Not much point collecting data that you don't need when it's going to be a barrier for them to complete the form, right? Get the form, get the basics, then once you've got that, you can get more data later, right? Frame and people like me, I openly say that. We go, oh, you know, we want to do good digital marketing, we want to use analytics. So the more data we've got, the better analytics we have. So let's get all their data, right? But I'm also a marketing person that understands how people, human behavior works and how people use websites. The more fields you got, the more barriers there are to completing. So it's much better to get a little form that's completed than a big form that collects all the data that you can use that doesn't get finished, right? Because then you can't use it at all. Right, use a call to action that incentivizes completion, and you can do that. Click here, and it can be in two ways. Incentivizes them for what they get out of it. If you finish this form, you get 25% off your next order or something like that. Or you could go incentivize like, we really appreciate your feedback, or we really appreciate us. And that way they understand the incentive is then they realize how valuable it is and that they're giving something meaningful to us rather than just filling out some random form on the website. Include the estimated time, completion time, because if you're filling out a form and you don't know how long it's going to take, it's going to seem, in consumer behavior we talk about the psychology of waiting. If you don't know how long you need to be waiting, it seems like you're waiting a magnitudes of times longer. Remind users of the benefits of completing the form. Make a submission process that's easy, and then use browser cookies to autocomplete fields. I love them when you go to Google or like Google Chrome and you go to a form and it fills half of it out for you already, like right on. Right, so phone numbers. Many websites use phone numbers to generate leads for new sales, like 1-300 numbers or 1-800 numbers, or even mobile numbers on there, right? Several software programs can be used to track phone calls, so that when the phone comes through that phone number, then you know that which lead it's coming from. We've used it before where we have different phone numbers for different call to action. So we know if they're calling that number, then it's coming through that lead. If they're calling another number, it's coming from that lead. Problem with that is then you've got two numbers for the same business and it can get confusing. So I recommend looking at these telephone packages to help manage that. Alright, so that finishes that. The last section will be dealing with landing pages.